Garmin just announced two new Forerunner watches, the Forerunner 70 and the 170. Now, one of them is the easiest beginner Garmin recommendation I've made in quite a while, and the other one kind of managed to make two existing watches feel pointless at the same time. Let's get into it. Quick heads up before we go any further, I don't have either of these watches in hand. They're not out yet. You can't even order them yet. You could order them starting May 15th. So everything I'm covering today is based on specs, pricing, and a lot of time with other Garmin watches. If you want to see a full hands-on review after they ship, then drop a comment and I'll see if there's enough interest to grab one of these and do a full actual review. So these two watches are going to be replacing the Forerunner 55 and the Forerunner 165. Now, the 55 has been around since June of 2021, almost 5 years. And it showed. It had the MIP display, it had an older design. It was starting to feel pretty dated compared to what competitors were putting out at the same price point. The 165 is a much more recent model, and I'll get into that in just a minute. But starting with the Forerunner 70. The Forerunner 70 is going to retail at $249. It's a real upgrade from the 55 here. The biggest change is, of course, the display. We're going from the older MIP screen to a 1.2-inch AMOLED. And if you've used the FR55, you know the display, it's not terrible at all, but it's a MIP screen. They're moving away from that. AMOLED is what you're going to find on all the newer models now. At $249, a good display, it matters. Now, beyond the display, you're getting the running watch standards, basically. You're getting built-in GPS, single band, of course. Gen 4 Elevate sensor, not the 5, but again, it's still a reliable sensor. It works just fine. Getting over 80 sport modes, smart notifications, 13 days battery in smartwatch mode, and that's actually a pretty solid number for a watch at that price. So here's who the Forerunner 70 is actually good for. Someone that's brand new to running who wants a proper GPS watch without overspending. For years, to go to answer for what's a good first Garmin, I'm just kind of getting things going, it was the Forerunner 55, but the answer always kind of had a caveat, at least in the last few years. It wasn't easy to recommend. The age of the watch was really showing. But now that caveat's gone. The 70 is modern looking, the display looks great, and it does everything a new runner actually needs. Now, moving on to the Forerunner 170, this is where things get a little more complicated. The 170 comes in two different versions. There's the base version at $299 and the music version at $349. Now, the 170 adds a barometric altimeter, compass, gyroscope, thermometer, and Garmin Pay on top of what the 70 already offers. So the base 170 is kind of a hard sell in my opinion. Again, for $50 more than the 70, what you're getting for that money only matters in specific use cases that aren't really applicable to most beginner runners. The altimeter is great if you're out hiking a lot and you need accurate elevation tracking. Garmin Pay is useful if you want to tap your watch at the coffee shop in the middle of your run. But for most people shopping in this price range, neither of those things are really going to tip the scales or move the needle. Now, the 170 Music at $349 makes a bit more sense to me. You get 4 gigs of onboard storage for offline music, and that could be through Spotify, Deezer, Amazon Music, YouTube Music. You can leave your phone at home, run with your headphones, and you're all set. That's a real reason to spend up here. So if offline music is on your list, the 170 Music is the right move. But here's my honest take on the 170 here. It kind of feels just like a model number bump. It's not really a new watch. Looking around online, that kind of seems to be the prevailing sentiment as well. Going from the 165 Music to the 170 Music, and most of the changes here are just software features, and a lot of that could have been a firmware update, but I mean, hey, we know how Garmin is about update lifespan on their watches. There's nothing technically new here, no new sensors, no new capabilities, no hardware breakthroughs. Garmin just kind of needed to get everything up to the 70 model number family, and this is how they did it. So if you were shopping for a 165, grab a 170. If you have a 165, you're really not missing anything with the 170. Hey, real quick, if you're liking this video so far, throw a like, drop a sub. I'm trying to really get out a lot of content. We're really growing here. We're almost at 12,000. I appreciate your support. Now, talking about the 170 Music, this is kind of the part I find most interesting about the entire lineup now. The Forerunner 570. Now, it's not a new model, and it's coming in at $549 MSRP. The 170 Music is launching at $349, and that puts some real pressure on it. So what does the 570 get you that the 170 Music doesn't? Well, you're getting multi-band GPS, which is more accurate in tough environments. Lots of dense tree coverage, urban canyons, tall buildings. Any place where satellite signal gets messy, so that will help there. If that's your normal running route, then sure. You're getting 2 size options as well, 42 millimeters, 47 millimeters. So if you want a smaller watch, this is the only way to get it in this family. An aluminum bezel instead of polymer, so it looks a bit nicer. Bluetooth calls directly from the watch. You also get 8 gigs of music storage instead of 4 gigs. And here's what I think is the real differentiator here. If you're a triathlete, only the 570 has built-in multi-sport modes. So there is a use case for the 570. If you race triathlons, if you run in very challenging environments where multi-band GPS actually makes a difference, if size options matter to you or you want the Bluetooth calling, then sure, any of those are great reasons. But for the average runner who just wants a solid GPS watch with music and good training features, spending $200 more is going to be a tough conversation. The 570 doesn't have maps. It doesn't have a flashlight. And those are the 2 things I consistently hear people ask about when they're shopping around this price point. And right now, for most people, the 570 feels like a watch in search of an audience. I guess triathletes are the clearest case, but everyone else is a little bit harder to convince here. Now, before I wrap up, here's where things sit against the competition here. The Coros Pace 4 is $249, same price as the FR70, but you're getting multi-band GPS. The battery life is also a decent bit better. Training tools are solid here. I'd say the ecosystem of Garmin is most definitely more developed. Software depth, it depends what flavor you prefer, but they're both pretty good there. I also have the Suunto Run at $249, another watch with dual band GPS. You're getting a clean, focused running watch, and at that price with dual band, it's a solid sell as well. If you want to check out Amazfit, you have the Active 3 Premium at $170. AMOLED display, offline maps, turn-by-turn navigation, 4 gig storage, 12-day battery. Maps at that price is really impressive and deserves a mention if budget is your primary driver. And finally, we have the recently reviewed Polar Street X at $249. You're getting an AMOLED display, you're getting single band GPS, but you're getting that built-in flashlight. This is the only offering at that price point that has a built-in flashlight. I mean, even the Forerunner 570 doesn't have one. So at $249, it's not a bad bargain. So where does that leave us with the new models here? The Forerunner 70, I would say, is the new default recommendation for anyone that's just getting into running with Garmin. For years, I was saying the 55, but that really became pretty hard to say in the last 3 years or so. Now, the 170 Music is a solid watch for someone who specifically wants offline music and some of those extra sensors that I mentioned. The base 170 is a little tougher sell. It kind of lives in the middle, and I don't think it does a great job of being entry level with the pricing, but also it doesn't have the features of the music. And finally, the Forerunner 570 is a little bit stranded here. It's a genuinely capable watch. It's good, but it just kind of finds itself in this uncomfortable spot now that the 170 Music exists at $349. And I won't even get into the bargains that you could have by just finding a 165 Music, but that's a whole nother video. Let me know what you think about all of this. Do either of these new models catch your attention? If so, what watch are you coming from? I'm interested to hear your opinion. Oh, and if you want to see a full review once these are actually out, the 70 or the 170 Music, I guess the base 170, but don't do that to me. Let me know in the comments. If enough of you guys are interested, I'll grab one of these and put it through its paces the right way. We'll test it against everything, whatever. I'm Dave, and this is Dave Does Fitness. Have an awesome day and stay fit.